Milesian philosophy. The first known philosophers of ancient Greece were from a city-state called Miletus. Even before the onset of philosophy, religious mythology was already setting the conceptual stage for philosophical speculation. Religion, then as now, was a powerful social force in shaping views of human nature and the cosmos. Yet, the first philosophers of ancient Greece moved beyond such traditional mythological explanations of the world and stressed the rational unity of things. The three first philosophers from Miletus were Thales, Anaximander, and Axiomenes, all of whom attempted to look for the origin or principle. The Greek word arche has both meanings, of all things. Thales was the very first among the Milesian philosophers. He himself didn't write anything, and what we know of him comes from later sources. The best account of the details of Thales' philosophy is from Aristotle, who notes that all of the first philosophers attempted to discover the underlying stuff of all things, but they disagreed about what that particular stuff was. The Greeks then had already held to the view that there were four basic elements: earth, air, fire, and water. From these, Thales selected water as the primary stuff of nature. As Aristotle explains, Thales chose water because moisture seemed to be an essential element in all living things. It's at the middle state between earth and air insofar as some moist substances can evaporate and turn into air, and others solidify and turn to slime or earth. There is some haziness about what it means for water to be the source of all things. On the one hand, it could mean that the world originated from water, a view that had been around in mythology for a long time. On the other hand, it could mean that the world is made of water and things as they are now are composed of water as their primary stuff. The second interpretation of Thales is the more common one, and the one that constitutes Thales' legitimate claim to fame. It seems like an easy thing to identify a single element like water as the primary stuff of all things, but it is a very sophisticated move to abandon mythological foundations of the natural world in favor of physical explanations, and this is precisely what Thales did. Following Thales was his student and fellow named Anaximander, 610 to 454 BCE. Anaximander agreed with Thales that there was a single source of all things, yet he criticized Thales for selecting water as the fundamental element. Instead, he held that the underlying cause of everything was identifiable stuff that he called boundless. Greek apeiron, which means that which has no boundaries. More precisely, he argued that none of the traditional four elements could be the primary stuff. According to his theory, as explained by Aristotle, there is a fundamental conflict between the qualities that we see in the four primary elements. Something which is wet cannot cause something which is dry. If any one of the four elements was the primary substance, spread infinitely throughout the cosmos, then it would counteract the others and prevent them from existing. Thus, the ultimate cause of things must be some invisible and limitless physical substance, which is capable of morphing into all the physical things that we see. The importance of Anaximander's theory is that he was the first to ground ultimate reality in something which is non-perceptible. Many philosophers after Anaximander similarly propose a non-sensory explanation of things. The third of the founding philosophers from Miletus was Anaximenes, 585 to 525 BCE, who was a student of Anaximander. Different from his tutor, Anaximenes believed the underlying substance of the universe was what we translate as air, because air is neutral but can take on various properties, especially condensation and rarefaction. This is a more specific substance than Anaximander's. According to him, physical objects differ only in how condensed the air is in a given space. The more compressed, the more it becomes solid, and the less compressed, the more it becomes watery or airy. This theory made Anaximenes the first to suggest that reality could be measured, which provides a more scientific account of reality.